Step 3 in creating a lifestyle of discipleship is probably for me the one that means the most. If I could say that, that sounds a little funky, especially with as big as I am into identity. Walking with someone else is, I think, the safety net, the bumper rails, the guardrails in life. As an introvert, I tend to get caught up in my own thinking, caught up in my own head, and so if I focus on my own flaws, my own problems, whether it's in my identity, I start beating up on myself, saying I'm not worth something, I'm not good at something, I'm fundamentally flawed, and then I fail at practicing the basics. Walking with someone else allows me that outside perspective that I don't get if I'm just so focused on my own problems and my own failures. And so for me, I've got 3 people in my life. My wife, she and I talk quite a bit about my failings. I also talk a lot with Chris. And then my pastoral coach, who we've also had on the podcast before. Those 3 people kind of give me a mirror into my own life. They allow me to see what's going on from an outsider's perspective. And because I get so caught up in my own thinking, they see patterns that I don't. One of my favorite experiences with walking with someone else lately, probably in the last year, was actually a question that I asked Chris. I honestly don't remember the context. I think I was getting ready for a sermon, and I called him up on the phone and I asked him, what do you see God doing in my life? If you guys know me very well, I like to make a strong personal connection with people when I'm talking with them, when we're walking things out together in life. So I was trying to do that in this message. And so I asked Chris, what have you seen God doing in my life? Because at that point, I was feeling pretty down about myself. I was beating myself up. I had lost sight of my identity, wasn't practicing the basics very well. And so getting an outside perspective, rather than focusing on my own flaws and things like that, allowed me to see things that I hadn't noticed before and to pick out patterns of God's work and God's presence in my life that I hadn't noticed. And so walking with someone else is a great way to see the things that you've missed in life, whether that's sin or the work of God in your life. It's a vital part of the Christian life in creating a lifestyle of discipleship. And from the very beginning of creation, one of the things that God said after he created Adam was it's not good for man to be alone. In other words, he wired us for relationships with each other and relationships with him. And if we try to live the Christian life in such a way where we ignore that wiring, we ignore the need for relationships, we're missing out on a great opportunity to more easily follow Jesus. It's something that seems awkward at first, especially if you've never really done it before. Opening up to somebody about the deep stuff in life can be really intimidating, especially if you've got some really dark stuff in your past, and that's not an easy thing to do. So in working with others who are trying to walk with someone, I try to caution people, don't feel like you have to share all of the deep, dark stuff right up front. Don't try to hide it, but don't necessarily feel like you have to go all the way in sharing everything about who you are and your failings and things like that right up front. Build the relationship first. The only reason that I can talk with my wife and with Chris and with my pastoral coach about things that we talk about is because I've known each of them for well over 10 years now. And that's a huge blessing for me personally. We can talk about things that I would probably never talk to any other person about. It's a way for me to get a real interaction, a back and forth dialogue going about the struggles that I'm facing. And I think that's one of the things that God's given us in the discipleship lifestyle to help us along the way. It's one thing to listen to the Holy Spirit and hear from God in prayer. It's another thing to have direct feedback from people who are walking beside you. Both are valuable, and if you're going to have to pick one and only one, of course, go with the Holy Spirit. But man, if in any way you can walk with someone else in creating a lifestyle of discipleship, do it. I can personally testify that without walking with someone else in creating a lifestyle of discipleship, I would be in a really, really bad place. I may not even be trying to live a lifestyle of discipleship at all. It might not even be something that I would have come back to. So, step 3 in creating a lifestyle of discipleship, walk with someone. I guarantee you, if you put the time and investment into it, you will not regret it.